in the Red Sea and the touring business, now also representing a fantasy line, a true pioneer, like I said, in all the true meanings, in the Israeli and Jewish meaning and in the scuba meaning. Howard, can I welcome you to stage, please?
Good evening, Erev Tov, Shavua Tov. Luckily, they're going to let me speak in English today. So, first I just want to say, as a personal note, I've been involved in the diving business in Israel for almost 50 years. The first dive I took in Eilat was 1966. As an American kid traveling in Israel. It was like one of the early birthright trips. And I just want to say, this is amazing, this program, what's going on here. And the beautiful thing about it is it's bringing together the communities, because so often the diving community does their thing, the scientific community does their thing, the environmental community does their thing, and they're basically in a different orbit. And I just think it's wonderful. And I think we should say a little something about David Pilasov, who was one of the initiators of this thing, the Silence of the Sharks. And because of various reasons, it never came to be in its original sense. But it came to be in this current sense, which is beautiful. Amos did so much hard work here, Adam and the team from Haifa University. And you know, I was supposed to be in the diving show in Birmingham, England this weekend, and when I heard this thing coming back to life, I decided that I wanted to be here instead. So thank you all for coming. So it's my honor and privilege to introduce the special speaker and guest, Dr. Sylvia Earle. Sylvia, you have awed presidents, kings, and maybe a few dictators. Today you managed to awe me and the people around you. Because when I think about what you've done in the last 24 hours or 36 hours, flying all the way from the United States, a long trip, as we all know. Then at the airport, Stephanie picking you up and driving you through 2/3 of the country to Eilat. And waking up at the crack of dawn to tire us out on the coral reefs of the university, and then rushing over to the diver circle. I don't know what happened after that, because I collapsed. I went to my room and I was out. But I assume that you continued meeting people and charming them, and in addition to that, you actually set the Israeli record for selfies, and graciously accepted to being in pictures from everybody, and I witnessed some of it, and your poise and your patience is truly impressive. Dr. Sylvia Earle is known globally as her deepness. It's a name of deep respect and affection that she's earned over 60 years of work. Last month she was on the cover of Time magazine as a woman who is changing the world. That's kind of a serious thing to be, you know, in my opinion. Dr. Earle has led over 100 expeditions. She's spent over 7,000 hours underwater, many in habitat research, you know, living, sleeping under the water, and leading many of these expeditions. She was the chief scientist of NOAA, as we know. She's the scientist in residence at National Geographic. It's such an honor, really, to have you with us. She's founded Mission Blue, and I think you're going to talk more about that tonight, so I'm not going to go into that too much. But you are the preeminent spokesman of the oceans today, globally accepted and appreciated for the work you're doing. And the fact that you've come here halfway around the world for 48 or 72 hours to share your vision, your ideas with us is sincerely and greatly appreciated. So I was supposed to be showing pictures. I got carried away here. So I'm just going to show a few highlight pictures of Sylvia doing what she loves to do, which is happiness, which I saw today. as she went into that first dive early in the morning at the university. So, and she's generally very happy after the dive too. Not always. Maybe she sees something she doesn't like, but usually not. And like I said, we talked a lot about habitats and things like that, and Sylvia was leading all women's expeditions into the habitats. I love that picture. I think that's just a wonderful picture. Happiness, right? Happiness is this picture. Sometimes I marvel at how you could move, especially with this thing, how you manage with that. And we're talking deep ocean research and serious heavy-duty technical diving, but was done 30, 40 years ago. Can you imagine being tethered to something like that and going to over 380 meters? And I think at the time was maybe a record for a woman at depth or something. Yeah, something like that. But always smiling and gracious. And she started a company, Deep Ocean Engineering, and creating and not just going into these things but developing them and finding ways to solve problems. It's much more than just going down into a submersible. And even recently, studying sharks and being with sharks in a place that I love personally, also the Garden of the Queen in Cuba, and which is one of the interesting examples for those who don't know it, because Cuba has been outside of the mainstream of Caribbean tourism for so many years. It was like a time warp. So to go there now, you can see the beauty of the Caribbean as it was 50 years ago. And the shark very healthy shark population. So the guy on the left, you see him? This is very important. Pay attention to this.
I see things that others do not. A different world. A world that's changed enormously, just in my lifetime. My backyard was the Gulf of Mexico. That's where I first fell in love with the ocean. I think if others had the opportunity to witness what I have seen in my lifetime from thousands of hours underwater, I would not seem like a radical of the world without an ocean. You've got a planet a lot like Mars. No ocean, no life. No ocean, no us.
In 1990, she became the chief scientist.
I am immensely proud and thrilled to have the honor as a man of the sea to introduce a true eco-warrior and pioneer, Dr. Sylvia Earle.